When it comes to the last 2 years, I've sat on my hands with the non-stop shoveling of independent games that have shown themselves. I feel like it's becoming way too difficult to spot the diamond in the rough in terms of quality now that even so-called AAA titles have now begun passing the quality assurance of those with smaller budgets. How my mind was put at ease though when I noticed the gem known as Echo by Ultra Ultra, a sci-fi third-person stealth adventure that displays a proud inspiration from media never surprisingly utilised as much as you would think. The question though is, does Echo offer the kind of experience that makes us feel relieved from the streams of mainstream market titles, or is this simply just another rush job ready for the pile?
I feel like shit.
Echo is a title that lives by its name in gameplay, but also in narrative messaging. In this, you play as Anne, a mysterious girl on board of a ship drifting through space that not only contains the cynical AI known as London, but also a red cube that houses someone very important to her and drives her throughout the quest's running time. The story smartly embraces cryptic teases and breadcrumbing of an event that has come before, backstory and world building that makes En's life much more deserving of a bigger budget and presentation. We only follow En and London's communication throughout, but even till the end there is a lingering set of questions we constantly hope to be shown to us only because it becomes more and more fascinating.
You sit alone in space in that obsolete monstrosity of a ship, waiting decades to spend a few hours with your human friend.
And you killed him, you stupid bitch! And now you lost our chances of bringing him back. How clever is that?
So you do believe it can be done?
After a smoothly paced introduction, we accompany En to a labyrinth-style planet built of thousands upon thousands of grand decor rooms. We find out that a relative of hers built this supposed palace through his vast fortune, but from entering its enclosed world, everything is dormant and touched, built for a king yet abandoned like an unopened Christmas present. A doll house of perfection. It isn't far into the lonely exploring that En is confronted by the inhabitants of these infinity rooms, an army of blank-faced doppelgangers mirror imaging her very own persona. Why they are here and what drives them to hunt En is the core question among many other relevant wonders, but only by playing this game will you learn some of them. Now, first of all, you may be thinking that having a game where your enemy is the exact copy of your own protagonist's character model might seem lazy, but upon further delving into Echo, we discover a lot of polish and content creation for its contained world of rooms that justifies the reasoning for all of it. The duplicates, also known as echoes, litter the rooms you slowly work through by achieving certain objectives to escape them, like finding a number of glowing blue posts to unlock an elevator, or stealing keys from under their noses, which then takes you to a new room with a resembling design but different layout. Getting through the rooms asks the player to sleuth En behind enemy lines, either by slipping by foes by using obstacles, vaulting to lower platforms, or taking them out in stealth takedowns, and is also equipped with a riot gun that is connected to her beautifully designed suit that, while incredibly powerful, enough to even impale as many targets as you can line up, but comes with its own handicaps like being a single shot weapon, but also draining the suit of precious energy that can only be recharged from glowing orb stations around the rooms for a single charge also. The idea is very much inspired by Deus Ex's own Adam Jensen, where the final energy cell charges over time, but to attain further charges will require you to find the glowing mechanical orbs that will help perform more advanced actions one after the other. Absorbing a fall, for instance, requires 2 cells to be consumed depending on the height of the fall, and Ultra Ultra are able to make En's suit feel just as involved in the world and its lore than pretty much everything else. Through these gameplay mechanics comes the main crux in that En's enemies, the Echoes, copy the actions performed during 5-minute intervals, and then reset only to copy a new set in making beating each area more varied and challenging. For example, when you enter a room, you may sneak through the area and use one-hit kill objects to dispose enemies, but once the blackout happens, the echoes will reset and they will now sneak around after you and also use those one-hit kill weapons. In another, you may notice that echoes can't cross water, but by crossing yourself, they too will be able to copy your actions in the future. This means that when you sneak, the enemies sneak. When you use your gun, the enemies will also use guns, but this is countered even further by the momentary phase where the lights go all out, allowing you to perform any action without the enemies copying also. Honestly though, the main appeal to this is the tense looming horror and insecurity this provides, along with the epic moments where the blackout happens and resets your enemies just as they're about to kill you. This allows you to adapt on the fly to the challenge rooms you are based in, but not only to beat objectives, but also to make the enemies adapt to you in your own way of advantages as well. Fruit, for example, is scattered around the map sometimes, and by eating a piece, an echo will too, and this will give you a few more seconds to choke them out, or by making them only able to vault and not open doors, or vice versa, makes combating the echoes through intelligence quite a unique perspective in gameplay. This even leads to other useful techniques like finding a collectible and then echoes copying this action and finding collectibles around the room for you. The only thing to remember is that once that blackout hits, they will replace all of their movesets with the ones you started using in that current cycle. Sadly, new enemies never reveal until the final chapter though, and even then, it's just a new variant of the Echo. Game mechanic changes also only start to show themselves at the final leg of the story, and this makes the feeling that the game could have benefited from procedurally generated rooms, or even an Infinity Run mode, where gameplay could be further expanded upon. The length of these goings-on venture for around 6 hours depending on your ability, but throughout it never feels like a slog, and this is because of the well-voiced conversations going on between our heroine N and her companion London. It actually feels saddening in places that we navigate through full rooms where no conversing occurs, because the people and the places they talk about are so cool and interesting, and Echo makes us drawn to its world building and the overall universe.
You were right about the palace. What's the plan now?
We get Foster back, and then we leave.
I was hoping for something more specific.
Visually, the art style to Echo is cleverly striking, from N herself and her life support suit to the grand palace that drips and even gushes inspiration from 2001: A Space Odyssey. The only fault I can think of is the small random frame rate drops on occasion, which to be honest shouldn't happen on a game of this engine, and can't even be combated by the PlayStation Pro's boost mode. Music though, at a limited track variety, has a swooping inspirational touch of Luc Besson's Leon, with violin helping to sell the dungeon rooms you explore. Voice acting is good all around, with N portraying herself as a cocky, self-confident teen with a dark past aching to be further explored, and London and Ship AI that works as a more sentient Jarvis who acts for and against N when he chooses because of his own free will. This brings together a duo that is great to listen to when learning about them and the universe they live in, and only feels disappointing when certain levels you explore contain moments of silence and no real dialogue to eat up. Ultimately, Echo is a great indie game that at face value deserves more attention and follow-up content thanks to its already well-done groundwork. The game revels in simplicities, and this actually helps it at a possible series now that it has the core gameplay mechanics laid out, and in the future can only be built upon for greater things. I'm going to give Echo a gold muffin. It surprised me throughout N's journey and kept me intrigued even after the sudden ending. It holds its inspirations of wanting the player to ask questions close to the chest, and I admire it for this even if the story may feel a little confusing to some. But what do you think of Echo? I would love to know. But until next time, ciao.